The Denver Nuggets have 2 more regular season games until the 2024-25 NBA season has officially come to a wrap. From title hopes to historic triple-doubles to firing our head coach right before the playoffs, this Nuggets season has been everything but normal. And with just 2 games left until the season is wrapped, I think it's time we take a look back as to how we even got here in the first place. You know, there's a lot of things that happen throughout the course of an NBA season, and I think it's very easy to get sidetracked and just forget about all of the stuff that has accumulated throughout the entirety of the season. Like if we go all the way back to June when the Denver Nuggets selected Daron Holmes with the 22nd pick, it's odd because on one end it feels like it was just yesterday, but on the other side it feels like it was forever ago. And I vividly remember when we selected Daron Holmes, I went straight to my YouTube and searched up his college highlights, and I remember being so hyped and thinking, oh my god, we finally got our premier backup big that is going to be with us for the next 10 plus years. And then unfortunately Summer League comes, Daron Holmes suffers a bad injury, and then he's out for the entirety of the season. And then moving over to July, I feel like that's where the start of all of the bad turmoil had started for the Nuggets, because that is when KCP decided to decline his player option. He ended up going to the Orlando Magic on a pretty nice deal. Looking back on it to this day, that's still one of those moves that just really tugs at the heartstrings, because KCP was one of the main reasons as to why the Nuggets even made their championship run, and I feel like he just encapsulated what being a Denver Nugget was. He embraced his role. He was a hustler, never complained, and it was just one of the best vets that you could ask for. And it's funny looking back at the time, I remember when we weren't able to bring back KCP. If you guys don't remember, the Nuggets were one of the teams that were in the runnings to get Klay Thompson. Everyone was so ready. It's like, okay, KCP is gone. What is the next big thing that we have to go on and replace him with? And I feel like no one was really thinking, okay, Christian Braun just gonna immediately move into that role, or Julian Strawther's going to move into that role. Every single Nuggets fan was thinking, okay, who is the next free agent that we can get to fill that role? And it's just funny to think as to like what even the team would look like if we were to have gotten a Klay Thompson on our squad. I think it would have fit pretty nice. But I feel like at the time, majority of Nuggets fans weren't even really thinking of a potential Christian Braun breakout year. And if I'm being brutally honest with you guys, I was living in a world where it's like, okay, we lost KCP. He was our point of attack defender. He obviously was a high volume 3-point shooter, and Christian Braun being more of a slasher and not very much of a high volume 3-point shooter. In my mind, I was trying to convince myself, I'm like, okay, there could be a world where Julian Strawther is our starting shooting guard. He has more length. He's 6'7", high volume 3-point shooter. He projects to be a pretty good defender in the NBA. And then obviously at the start of the season, it's Christian Braun who takes the starting position, and he just absolutely runs away with it. But I want to dial it back before we get into the start of the season, because after KCP declined his player option, that is when we signed Russell Westbrook on a 2-year vet minimum deal. And I feel like majority of Nuggets fans were kind of split as to when we acquired Russell Westbrook. I feel like I was kind of in the middle, where I could see the potential of how good he could be as our backup point guard. But then coming off the year as he did last year with the Clippers, I could also see a world where this could tragically go wrong. And my initial thoughts when we first got Russell Westbrook, I'm like, okay, this could be our Bruce Brown replacement. He could easily play that Brucey B role where he's our point of attack defender off the bench, where he can push in transition. He can take over offensively every once in a while off the bench. Some games he's going to close, some games he's not going to close. And he's just going to be that energy spark for us off the bench. And looking at it in hindsight, I feel like that's exactly what it's been. Obviously with Russ, the highs are going to be really high and the lows are going to be really low. And after acquiring Russell Westbrook, that's when the Nuggets acquired Dario Saric on a 2-year, $10.5 million deal. And I was so bloody excited to get Dario Saric onto the squad, because Nuggets fans know we haven't really had a good, secure backup big man for a while, probably since the Mason Plumlee days. And the second that we signed Dario Saric, coming off a year where he played really good in Golden State, I really saw a world where it's like, okay, he's like a mini hybrid Jokic. He's not athletic. He can space the floor. He can kind of be a mini hub to your offense where he's a pretty good facilitator. And unfortunately, it was anything but that. I mean, it didn't take long for Coach Malone to figure out that the Dario Saric minutes just were not going to work out whatsoever, because he just looked extremely rough. And speaking of signing players, around the September or October time is when the Nuggets signed Jamal Murray to a 4-year, $208 million extension. And it was the same thing with the Russell Westbrook thing, where there was a lot of fans who were saying it was a complete overpay, and there was a lot of people that were saying that it was valid. Kind of the same response. I found myself somewhat in the middle, where obviously we have to re-sign Jamal. We're not just going to let him walk in free agency. But at the same time, there is is going to be a point in time where the Nuggets are going to be paying him $57 million annually. And as an honest fan, it's just kind of hard to know that we're going to be paying a non-All-Star that much money. But after we signed Jamal Murray, we were also able to bring back Aaron Gordon. He signed a 4-year, $133 million extension, which in my opinion was totally worth it, because if you guys don't remember at the time, there were a lot of rumors on people speculating if Aaron Gordon was even going to be able to come back to Denver. It was similar to the KCP situation where we had just extended Jamal. Obviously, the Joker is on the max, MPJ is on the max, and since we weren't able to bring back KCP, since Calvin Booth was being a little bit cheap, a lot of people were speculating, will we even be able to bring back AG? And just to look back and think that these were the conversations that we were having at the beginning of the season is just crazy to me. And that's what I'm saying. There is just so much that happens throughout this season that it's just fun just to go back and look at some of the older articles and see what the state of the team was and see what people thought. If I were to tell myself 6 months ago, Coach Malone is going to be fired, Calvin Booth is going to be gone, Jokic is going to have an even better MVP season as he did last year, I would probably call myself crazy. But moving on to the beginning of the regular season, you could definitely tell that the Nuggets just had a different vibe to this team. We faced a lot of inconsistencies early on. I remember there was a point in time where the Nuggets were a sub 500 team. And granted, I feel like the Nuggets always start the season really slow, but for some reason this season just felt way different and something definitely seemed off from the start. But one thing that wasn't off from the start of the season is seeing the growth in Christian Brown. Obviously, there was a lot of speculations as to how this team was going to look without KCP, and a lot of people questioned what the spacing was going to look like with the Nuggets, because Christian Brown, he has never been a high volume 3-point shooter. It was just pretty obvious that it was probably going to be just a different fit in general. And I just love seeing the progression and Christian being able to finally get the recognition that he deserved. Early on in the season, he was definitely in the top 3 races for being the most improved player. And early in the season, Christian Brown was averaging anywhere from 18 to 22 points per game. He was just on the ultimate hot streak. And that's one thing that I feel like Christian Brown doesn't get enough respect about, is that early on, Coach Malone literally said himself that there are no plays that are run for Christian Brown. He doesn't get a floppy action. He doesn't get anything that specifically ran through him. So the fact that Christian Brown is having the year that he has had, career highs in basically all facets, just having the year that he's having all around really just speaks to who he is as a player, and I feel like is really underrated. After the Nuggets' early struggles, they had a pretty strong December and January, and heading into the All-Star break, we had a 10-game winning streak, which set us at a 36-19 record, and we were 6th in the Western Conference. And one of my favorite moments pre-All-Star break was when Michael Porter Jr. just went nuclear. If you don't remember, Jamal Murray was dealing with an injury. He had a 3-game stretch where he had 36 points, 39 points, 38 points, and he was just absolutely unconscious. And having real-life conversations that he was looking like the second best Nugget throughout the entirety of the season. People were also saying that Russell Westbrook was the second best player on the Nuggets. There were legit conversations that people were having where they were saying Russell Westbrook was better than Jamal Murray. That is just how crazy this season has been so far. Speaking of Michael Porter Jr., if you do not remember, there were a lot, and I mean a lot of talks of MPJ being in trade rumors, and specifically for Zach LaVine. And it was another one of those conversations where a lot of people were split, and me being one of the biggest MPJ fans on the planet, I obviously did not want to see MPJ go to any other team. But there was also a side of me where Zach LaVine was on a heater at the beginning of the season, and I was like, man, imagine a backcourt of Jamal and Zach LaVine. Imagine the 2-man game of Zach LaVine and Nikola Jokic. Hey man, I would be lying to you if I still don't think about it to this day. When we played the Sacramento Kings the other day in David Adelman's first game as a head coach, and I see Zach LaVine just taking over in the 4th quarter, hitting tough step back threes, witnessing his shot creation just on another level, there still is a side of me where I think about a world and I'm like, damn, what would the Nuggets look like if we were to have made that move and we would have traded Zach LaVine for Michael Porter Jr.? Because we were actually having those conversations, man. And it's just crazy to see where our team is at after those rumors. And post All-Star break on March 7th, Nikola Jokic had a historic performance, having the NBA's first ever 30-point, 20 rebound, and 20 assist game in NBA history. And this is when the MVP race really started to kick up and get crazy. And obviously, Jokic's greatness maintained consistent throughout the entirety of the regular season. But unfortunately, another thing that did maintain consistent was the inconsistencies of this team, where it felt like we would go on a little mini win streak and then we would find ourselves on a 3-game losing streak and we just couldn't find our rhythm. And now we find ourselves here where Michael Malone is fired. fired, Calvin Booth is gone, and David Adelman is the interim head coach for the Denver Nuggets. As of right now, we are the 4th seed in the West with a 48-32 record as we just beat the Sacramento Kings 2 nights ago. And tonight we have a huge game against the Memphis Grizzlies. And there could possibly be a world where the Nuggets end up a play-in team. And it's another one of those things where if I were to tell myself at the beginning of the season that the Nuggets were gonna possibly be a play-in team, I would tell myself that you're crazy. Because strictly based off the optimism that I felt at the beginning of the year, we signed Dario Saric, we get Russell Westbrook, Christian Brown is gonna take another leap, Julian Strawther is gonna take another leap. I just don't think at the beginning of the season I could really convince myself to think that we're gonna be a play-in team. And as of right now, it's really not looking like that's gonna be the case, but there still is a world where that could happen. And it really just goes to show how much goes down throughout the course of an entirety of a regular season. And even though it has been a very up and down year, probably one of the most inconsistent up and down roller coaster years that I've felt as a Nuggets fan as of recent, there still have been just so many positive moments that I don't want people to forget. Where we got to witness Jamal Murray break his career high, scoring 55 points. We got to see a plethora of just Nikola Jokic masterclasses. A 61-point triple-double, multiple 30-point and 40-point triple-doubles. An Aaron Gordon masterclass where he carried the Nuggets with no Jamal Murray, no MPJ, no Nikola Jokic, scoring his Nuggets career high and carrying us to beat the Golden State Warriors. So many amazing Christian Brown games, killing it in transition, hitting his threes at a high clip. And we also got to see a world where Russell Westbrook was looking like the second best Nugget at one point in time, where we got to witness the 200th career triple-double, something that has never been done before as a Denver Nugget. So to all of my Denver Nuggets fans that are feeling just totally upset and feel like this season has just gone to waste, just know that there has also been so many positives that we can take away from this season. And even though we fired Coach Malone, we fired Calvin Booth, I really can see a world where next season is going to be a historic season for the Denver Nuggets. And I think Jokic said it best. Maybe he woke up the beast. There could be a world where we're a first round exit. There could be a world where we make a finals push. I feel like everything that the Nuggets have gone through throughout the entirety of this season is just going to set them up for an amazing bounce back year next year. We find ourselves being dominant again. We find ourselves being top of the West and not even having a doubt if we're going to be in the play-in. And based off all the reports that I've seen that have been coming out these last couple of days, even though I loved head coach Michael Malone, I feel like the moves that have been made as of recent are only going to make us better as a team. And all good things unfortunately must come to an end. Michael Malone is probably going to go down as the best head coach the Nuggets have ever had a pleasure of having. And I feel like regardless if we have a heartbreaking loss in the playoffs or we make a deep run, I really feel like everything that the Nuggets have gone through as a whole this entirety of a season, that we can't just give up on this team. As long as we have our core four, we can be a contending team in the West. And looking back on it, I honestly respect Josh Kroenke for making the moves that he has made, because there aren't a lot of GMs that are aware that they are witnessing greatness. And I feel like Josh Kroenke is witnessing and understanding and putting pressure on himself, knowing that we are witnessing a generational talent in Nikola Jokic. You can either be reactive or proactive as an NBA GM. And I really feel like Josh Kroenke was being proactive with this move, because I really feel like there was a world if we just kept everything the way that we had it, the situation would have gotten even worse. It would have gotten even murky. And based off the reports that I've seen, there might have been a world where Jokic wouldn't even want to be a part of the Denver Nuggets. And I think that would have been a total disservice to not only Nuggets fans, but to Jokic to not make a big move like this and make a big shift. And looking back on it, man, I'm glad that Josh Kroenke was proactive. And based off the video that I made the other day, I said that it could be one of the moves that was one of the worst moves in Nuggets history. But looking at it now in hindsight, I actually think that this could be one of the moves that saves this Nuggets dynasty in general. Let me know what you guys think about everything, and comment down below your guys' favorite moments throughout the entirety of this season. I cannot wait for the playoffs to start. I will be posting my playoff predictions here soon. Like the video, comment down below your favorite Nuggets moments, and subscribe to Nuggets Daily for your daily Nuggets talk. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.